What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cowboys Culture Podcast, Episode 2. Me and Jacob just got back from camp. We were there all last week, Monday through Friday. We saw 3 camps, and that was just a great experience to be there. We're back with our buddy Steven. He was here holding down the fort. Let's get into some Cowboys content.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so welcome back from camp, boys.
Welcome
back from Oxnard.
Oxnard, California.
Yes, sirree. So what was that like? What's Oxnard like? I hear it's
kind of hottish,
ritzy,
honestly.
Hottish. All right, Texas is hottish.
Texas is hot, but being there was like when you're sitting there like leaned up against that sideline fence thing, just like watching them, dude, it gets hot.
It's warm.
Yeah, it's warm for sure.
There's no shade out there because it's obviously football field.
Yeah, the sun's beating down.
When the clouds were there, it was perfect. The sun beating on you for 2.5, 3 hours. I mean, it pretty much wherever you are, it's gonna be rough. But I mean,
you felt like you were cooking for sure.
It's definitely nowhere near though the level. Like we stepped out of that plane back in Dallas, and there was a difference.
Yeah, for sure.
I've experienced that before myself. Years ago, I had to take a trip out to L.A. and remember going out there, and just like you guys are saying right now, like you get there and it's hot, but it's kind of a different kind of hot.
Yeah.
You get off that plane at DFW, welcome home.
Yeah.
Did you guys fly out of DFW or Love?
Yeah, DFW.
Yeah.
DFW. Cool. So, back on the home front, man, kind of watching camp from afar. For instance, like Jerry Jones does a media party at Nobu. Is it Nobu? Nobu in LA, this famous sushi joint. He always does that, and that's in LA, obviously. So what's the proximity from, say, LA and Oxnard? I mean, what kind of drive is that?
LA to Oxnard is probably about a little over an hour.
Okay.
Because like LA.
Yeah,
it's about an hour.
About an hour, especially with traffic.
Yeah, with traffic.
We got to, so we were in Thousand Oaks.
Mm-hmm.
So to get to Oxnard for us was about a 30-minute drive.
Okay.
And then to get to Malibu, we went to the Malibu Beach, Santa Monica. That was about 45 minutes plus, depending on the traffic.
Yeah.
So I would say to get to LA from Oxnard, you're looking at probably an hour or so.
Yeah. So like the Thousand Oaks, you come into Santa Monica and all of that before you get into like downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah. It's in between. It's literally in between, more closer towards Oxnard, but it's in between Oxnard and LA.
Yeah, right on. Okay,
Yeah.
so Oxnard, like it's written, it's kind of a small California town, kind of a.
It's got a nice beach though.
Higher end city.
It's got some nice houses.
It
was a pretty nice, clean city. I mean,
it was nice.
A lot of cool places to eat there too.
Very nice.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, I know the players are always thrilled to go out there. You never hear players complaining about where camp is. So that's cool. Let's
talk ball.
Let's talk ball, man. Let's talk. It just so happens the Dallas Cowboys are in Oxnard, not just you two. So
absolutely.
No, great. I'm glad you guys are back. I'm glad we're back on the YouTube and on the Spotify. And let's talk it. We kind of talked last time about some of these additions, especially offensively. It's going to be that Mike McCarthy West Coast offense, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. See you later, Kellen Moore. And
Texas Coast.
Texas Coast. Yeah. So see you later, Kellen Moore. See you later, standing still tight ends.
See you later, kickers. And
kickers. Well, kickers is a fun discussion. We released a kicker today, but I digress. So tell us, what do you guys think about this new offense? What do you think about Mike McCarthy's West Coast / Texas Coast offense? And specifically talk about, because that particular type of offense, it's setting up the deep ball. Mm-hmm. We got a deep ball guy now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We got this guy, Brandon Cooks. I don't know if you guys are aware.
You could tell that when we traded for him, people were like, why, what is he even going to like? But going there and seeing him in that offense, there was for certain a reason. Like I now know, like, okay, I know exactly why there was a specific purpose, and it's being fulfilled with him in this offensive system.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was just really cool to watch Brandon Cooks in this system, and like, I mean, for most of it, as I was watching it, is really just like pick your poison on the defense. Like, I forgot exactly what day. It was one of the days we were there. We got to see 3 practices. I think it was like our second one where, it was, like I said, it was pick your poison. You either had CeeDee Lamb just going off, or you had Brandon Cooks, whether it was the deep ball or even like Brandon Cooks did a lot of these crossing routes. Man, it was just like they could not stop him. And then just whenever you're kind of like, man, we're getting destroyed by CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks, there's Gallup with the toe drag, or Turpin, who we might talk about later, was getting a lot of work too. But man, it was just like I was noticing a lot of quick movement, passes, Dak getting the ball out of his hands very quickly, and then all of a sudden, when you don't expect it, there comes that deep ball over the top. A lot of times,
and it was automatic, dude.
Yeah, it was Brandon Cooks, and I mean, it was like Ethan said, it was on the money.
Who covered Cooks most? Who covered the deep guy? Gilmore.
It was Gilmore.
Yeah,
it seemed like Gilmore was mostly doing it.
That's who you want. You want Trayvon to kind of have to get there, and kind of, if you want somebody tracing a guy, Trayvon. If you want somebody going hip to hip with some dude, that's Gilmore.
Yeah, and then Hooker. I mean, just to talk about the secondary people really fast, Hooker was solid back there, and so was J-Ron. But what's new?
It's funny you mentioned Turpin. McCarthy did say, I think it was McCarthy, someone from the coaching staff. I want to say it was Mike. He just mentioned that he was really disappointed that we didn't really get to utilize in Kellen's offense last year. We didn't really get to utilize him as a receiver, as Turpin as a receiver. So hoping we can work his skill set in this year too.
Yeah, it seemed like I was saying, there was a lot of movement. There's a lot of those crossing routes and those quick slants. I feel like this style that we're doing now, maybe as opposed to our previous one, is giving guys like Turpin an opportunity for that speed skill set to really thrive. Yeah. So you got to see that with Cooks, you got to see that with Turpin, but also I was really excited to see CD and CD getting the ball, not just like we've been talking about, not just having Dalton Schultz and these guys run to the sticks and turn around, but it was like CeeDee Lamb on the move. We're scheming this play up so that CeeDee Lamb gets open in space, and he's in stride. And it was like seeing OU, CeeDee Lamb at some points. It was awesome to see.
Yeah, that's awesome, because that's what the West Coast is all about. It's all about getting the ball out fast, hitting guys in space, hitting guys in stride. It's all about setting up that deep ball.
Yeah.
That is not the Dallas Cowboys calling card. So so excited.
I was going to say that while we were there, and after practice, I'd go back to the hotel, watch a bunch of interviews and stuff. But one of the things that I just thought was so cool that Brandon Cooks said that it was like light bulb when he started talking about how good him and CD were collabing together. But then he was like, some packages we're lined up on the same side.
Scary.
And what he said was, I was like, wow, that's crazy, because he said the safety's got to come over and double one of us because it's both top 2 weapons. And he said, I mean, if you double me because you're scared about the deep ball, CeeDee Lamb's going to cook anybody one-on-one.
Yeah.
But if you double him, he didn't say, I don't think he said it, but I mean, he's going to burn whoever you put in front of him one-on-one.
Yeah, I mean, so if the safety chooses CD in a slot situation, it's just me and you out here, Hoss.
Yeah, you're going to get burnt. And then Gallup alone with somebody's third corner.
A linebacker.
He's going to moss somebody.
I mean, there was even plays he made on Diggs. I mean,
he's been showing out.
He took a significant step up since last season. He was a lot more crisp. You could see a lot more speed, and obviously we know he's got that acrobatic catch on the on the sideline. But it was good to see the movement his movement was looking really good, and so yeah, it was encouraging.
Yeah, you always wonder about that coming off that type of injury because we've all seen it before where like guys never really come back from that. So that's positive that you guys were able to.
And it wasn't it like I don't want people to think it was like, oh, you know, he caught a pass here, cool, Gallup's back. It's like, no, the dude was
showing out.
He was showing out.
Yeah.
Like everything he got, it was his, and he caught it, and he burnt somebody, he juked somebody, like he did a great route, or he showed speed, and he made the catch. Like it was good.
No, and I think the national media has seconded that like for the last couple of weeks. Really, really impressed with him. There's been several interviews with him. You know, just asking him about, you know, hey, coming off your injury and everything. A predominant media member was talking with him, and he was elaborating on you know, the mental part of it. He's back to 100%. Your body can be back to 100%, but these players they've talked about, you've heard lots of these star players talk about before. Well, you know, my body's 100%, but I can't mentally get there yet. You know, where he's saying that he is now mentally there 100% too. So he's just ready to ball.
Yeah, I just think overall as I looked at the offense, I would say definitely, and I know, you know, we'll probably have a lot to say about the defense. I would say definitely, as we would probably expect, the defense overall, I think, in our practices that we watched, overall won the battle.
Yeah.
But I would say the offense had so many, probably won, I think, the second day we were out there, but also had just so many good moments. You know, I really when I was going into it, I was thinking, you know, I'm really excited to see how much of an impact a guy like Brandon Cooks could make.
Yeah.
But it's like, not only was I surprised at how big of an impact adding him and his speed to the team was, you know, it wasn't just that. It was like we were talking about the Gallup elevating, the guys like Turpin elevating, some of our rookies, which we might talk about later, and then, you know, Dak and the way he's communicating and just the communication for the offense, how involved he was, how quick everything was moving, and then the deep balls and everything, like the plays they were able to make, that's something we did not see last year. Like if you guys remember, last year it was, yeah, the offense looked pretty rough today, the defense dominated. And don't get me wrong, the defense did, you know, overall win, but it was encouraging to see against this stacked of a defense, some plays being made, some things moving.
Yeah, stuff to be excited about.
I mean, speaking of the defense, I just think that people like, I mean, we can talk about, you know, quarterback play and you know, that kind of stuff later, but, you know, and obviously it's the Cowboys, and you see like, oh, somebody gets shut down, or somebody, like, you know, somebody picks off Dak, or somebody does this. That, you know, can that play a part into, you know, the offensive players and like the scheme and all that? But when you're playing a team that just a defense, the best defense in the NFL, like by far, like pound for pound, you're gonna make mistakes, especially when that stacked of a defense has that incredible of a defensive mind. Like everybody was firing at every moment. There wasn't a moment, except for maybe Kelvin Joseph, where you're like, that corner didn't do his job. You know, that DT could have pulled it. You know, Micah could have got, you know, back to Dak faster. You know, like the defense was just always firing. You know, it takes a explosive player / play to beat the defense. You know.
Speaking of defense, really quick, before you guys got to camp, big news out of camp, day 1, minute 1. Wheels down in Oxnard with you know, Jerry Jones 1, Air Force Jones 1. Trayvon signs a big deal.
Yeah.
Trayvon signs a big deal, a deserving deal, but it wasn't a max deal. You guys surprised to see him settle for? I think as of right now, he's gonna be like the 5th highest paid corner in the league.
Yeah, I think I'm ecstatic about it, actually, because, you know, as a Cowboys fan, you know, everybody's always talking about the Cowboys, and, you know, you hear all the, you know, crazy people being like, oh, you're not even going to have enough money for everybody because, you know, Diggs, he's going to want a lot of money. You can just already tell he's going to get a max contract, like set the reset the market and everything. And then for him to come out and be like, oh, didn't really take a team-friendly deal. I feel like that plays into the culture that we have on our defense now. Like everybody's like, yeah, I'm going to get paid, yeah, but I want good guys. I want to have a good team.
Yeah, like am I here to do my job and get my money? Yes. But I'm here to win.
Yeah.
And I know I need the supporting cast to win. And to say I want to be in Dallas and I'm willing to kind of humble myself at the contract table, so it says a lot for anybody, especially Trayvon, who everyone was saying, oh, you're going to have to pay that guy 15 interceptions in a year, or 11. But
yeah, and I think, like, for me, it wasn't like I was excited when I saw that, he didn't demand that max contract, which he definitely could have. He's insanely valuable to the team. He could have done that because, losing him, that's a huge hit. I don't think that the Joneses would have wanted that to happen. I feel like they would have been willing to pay that kind of contract. So to see him, that lack of selfishness, wanting to be a team player, but what made me even more excited was his attitude after, where he was like,
yeah,
I want to be the best to ever do it. And not only did he just say that,
he showed out.
Yeah, when you go to camp and you watch him, he was getting into. Obviously we all heard some of the talking that was going on between him and some of the prominent guys.
By the way, they blew that so far out of proportions, man. It's just ridiculous.
Can I just say to younger generation Dallas Cowboy fans, that's been happening around this team for as long as I've been alive and before that. All right, this is the Dallas Cowboys. Don't get it twisted. All right, if T.O. says anything to Tony Romo in 2007, man, we're in the Cincinnati Bengals camp, in the Cleveland Browns camp, that's a non-story. In the Dallas Cowboys camp, that is a story.
Yeah,
that is the story.
we were talking. We were at a restaurant, and we were probably at this restaurant 2 hours or something like that.
We were there for at least an hour and a half.
And they were talking about what Diggs said to Dak the entire time we were there.
I looked up. I was eating. Good Korean barbecue. Eating, and then I'd look up. I was like, oh, are they? I started. We just got there. I was like, oh, they're talking about the Dak and Diggs thing. Then I looked down. Eat my food a little bit, look down, eat my food, look down, and then I look up again, like 30, talking, people, and then look up again, and they're talking about it still. Then they start talking about something different for 10 minutes. Look back up, and they're talking about it again.
Yeah, you guys ever been playing backyard ball and talk trash to your friends?
Yeah,
that happens when you're Trayvon Diggs and Dak Prescott too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, out of proportion is an understatement. One other piece of news that we knew going into camp, it was a possibility. Obviously, wheels down. Everybody's there except for notably Zach Martin.
Right.
We don't have to spend a lot of time talking about Zach Martin not being in camp. Obviously, Zach Martin is underpaid. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think many people would argue with that. I think where the argument is you signed a contract, man, go to camp. I guess I'm kind of old school like that. I guess I can talk your ear off about, hey, you make a commitment, honor the commitment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the integrity of the contract is still there.
But at the same time, the guy's the best at what he does.
Yeah, he is.
Maybe going to be the best to ever do what he does, which is debatable. But, hey, Jerry, I know you watch the Cowboys Culture Podcast. Sign Zach Martin. Let's get this done. I need him in New York week 1. We can move on from that.
Yep.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I pay the man.
Yeah. So, pay the man. Yeah. He's a big old boy. You don't want him mad at you. So, I just, kind of moving into the defense a little bit. You guys, you gotta share with us that number 1 draft pick, Mozzie Smith.
Yeah.
What are we looking at with him?
I think that the biggest thing, with Mozzie, is just how quickly he gets in there, and he doesn't look like oh yeah, crap, I forgot this, or I didn't do this, and nobody has to sit there and coach him. He's just doing what everybody else is able to do at a very high rate. Like, you put him in there next to Osa or Hankins, and there's not that Mozzie missed this or
Who were they using to run against him?
oh, I mean that's. Are you talking about on O line?
Mm-hmm.
It was mostly the one. I mean, he was there with the ones.
Okay.
I mean, Biadish and
That's something to know. I mean, he's there to play.
yeah. I mean,
they had him in the ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the most, which is what we drafted him for. What you saw the most of is just the pocket moving backwards towards the quarterback and closing. Like the strength was definitely there, and they've you've seen clips and stuff, but I paid attention to each snap. I'm seeing Mozzie just like eat up the double teams and really pull people together and kind of push the pocket back, which is what you want. I mean, you're not going to see him. I did see like 1 or 2 sacks from him at when I was really really paying attention.
Tap sacks.
Yeah. Tap sacks. Yeah, not like Micah.
All right.
But just that's what we didn't have. I saw a lot of games last season where it was like the if we had a four-man front, it was just like that pretty much.
Yeah.
And it went like this, and then it was if you're playing somebody like the Birds or whatever, they'll just the quarterback doesn't even look; he just takes off, right? But now no more QB sneak, AJ.
Yeah, when I looked at Mozzie, I think what I noticed is when it comes to the things you can't
shout out the
coach,
Eagles.
when it comes to things you can't coach, like ability to, like athleticism, ability to move, ability to take a 300-pound dude and just put him in the dirt.
Yeah, the things that make you a number one.
He had that. The things that you could coach, though, like, I did notice him sometimes breathing heavy.
Yeah.
I did notice him sometimes, a little bit slow off the ball. Just needs to get more reps and practice at that. But when he did, though, and when he got his hands on somebody, I mean, it was,
it's hard.
It was a sight.
You're not gonna bully him.
And so, I think as he continues to get more practice, build up that endurance, get used to.
I'll tell you what, if you have an injury-prone running back and that dude grabs you, shout out Saquon. I mean, that dude's gonna get beat, because
he was getting some push.
Yeah,
I was seeing. I mean,
that's a big guy.
I mean, in drills, this dude just put an offensive lineman on the ground, like pushing the pocket back to where, like we talked about, Dak's having to be on the move a lot. A lot of that was because you had guys like Mozzie, really giving the interior O line some issues. So,
yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of that plays into because like we talked about with the offense, they're trying to be fast. That's how that Texas Coast, West Coast thing is it's fast, get the ball out quick. But that secondary, we added, for those of you who don't know, we added Stephon Gilmore in the offseason via trade and from the Colts. And just having somebody who makes you take that second look, go from your first read to your second read, and then those are, being locked down. You deal that takes some time off, and you don't have that much time when you play the Cowboys, especially when you're throwing the ball, because of Micah Parsons and Sam Williams, who was really explosive, and D-Law, who looked really explosive. Yeah. So I feel like if Mozzie, like we said, if Mozzie's able, and the guys in the middle are able to close up that middle and fortify it and be able to push it back, Gilmore, the addition of Gilmore makes people have to second guess what they're throwing at, and I think that's where he's the most impactful. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys saw this quite a bit, just talking about Gilmore. I'm sure, having a first-hand look at it, it's obvious, but Gilmore's one of those guys that can step into a cornerback's room, step into a DB's room, and because he's saying words to these guys, they are getting better. Mm-hmm. So not only is he here to be Stephon Gilmore, but he's also here to lead these DBs.
Yeah, there was a moment where we were really close to them, and I mean, you could, when they were doing kind of like offense versus defense drills, and the dudes who weren't on the field at the moment were lined up. I mean, probably 10 feet in front of us, and I mean, Diggs and Stephon were just like, I mean, everywhere they went, everywhere together. They were talking constantly. Like, I mean, it was you can tell Diggs is like picking his brain.
Yeah, they were with each other continuously.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing that I saw was I saw a video actually, or I think it was like a post or something, or somebody was talking about it. But they said that they overheard. I mean, this plays into even his impact on the whole team. That Gilmore was talking to CeeDee Lamb, but the only thing that was heard was, "Try this next time. Just trust me. Just try this." And it's like somebody who has played against some like the best wide receivers in the last decade is telling you, "Hey, when you're playing an elite corner like me, I mean, not saying that, but I mean he is. This is what you should do. Try this, and you'll fake them out every time."
Yeah.
Like I guarantee you, that's what was the generalization of what was being said,
Sure.
and that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, that is big. That's a veteran like that taking a rising star like CD and saying, "Hey, look, take 3 steps and bite on me," or take whatever it may be. That's great. That kind of insider trading. That's good stuff, and it's what's gonna mold the team.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, just overall, just the defense. Nathan, you might have something to add to this, but it was just like it wasn't just Gilmore, because Gilmore, the addition of Gilmore, I mean, elevated. I mean, the secondary elevation that he had, it's incredible. But it wasn't just that. I mean, when I looked at the linebackers, like. I mean, the linebackers were when it came to. I know we had a problem last year with stopping the run. I mean, obviously it's camp. You can't really tackle. You can't break tackles like you would normally if you're the running back. But man, it did not look like we had a problem stopping the run. I know Zach Martin wasn't there, but our linebackers were fast. Guys like Damone Clark were looking like they were understanding what was going on quickly, getting there. And then it wasn't just Mozzie that was looking good. You had Hankins.
Yeah.
Hankins and Osa were killing. I mean, it was just like overall, it wasn't. It's like I know we had the big addition of Stephon, and so it's like our secondary did get a lot better, but it was the dudes who we already had on the team seemed like they made just such a big leap.
Yeah, there was nobody that started last season that's still on our team that was like, They haven't taken another step in their game. They didn't go from average to good or good to above, great or, whatever, above average to good. It looked like everybody was firing on all cylinders and took that step up in the offseason. But, I mean, you talked about linebackers and everything, and, we got DeMarvion Overshown in there who's, a rookie. And speaking of the rookies, like I said, DeMarvion Overshown, he balled out. I mean, like, being a third-round pick, people saying, whatever, I think it's like his mental processing that was kind of slow or whatever. The dude showed out. I mean, every time he was called on, he made plays. I mean, I think it was yesterday or the day before last at training camp, I saw a clip, and the dude got an interception, and he was taking a lot of first-team reps. And a lot of the rookies showed out. But I've got one. You can talk. I've got one specifically that I'm very excited about.
I mean, let's
just going off of that. Like, Overshown was getting a lot of work with the ones, right? But I think it shows you how good of an impact a guy like him he made, or like him made when you see that Leighton last year without Leighton in the linebacker room, it was atrocious.
Yeah.
This year. Ethan probably saw this, but there were times where Leighton was doing pass rushing drills. He wasn't even lined up as a traditional linebacker like he used to, and so it's like I think that speaks to the trust that they have in Damone Clark, and now adding in Overshown in there
with Jabril.
Yeah, and Jabril for sure.
Yeah, when we can stop the run and we do force them to throw, Dan Quinn. I mean, if you go back and look at Dan Quinn, Atlanta and before that. Dan Quinn likes to bring linebackers and corners on third down on passing downs. He likes to get in the quarterback's face. We just weren't. Vander Esch, he wasn't able to play like that last year because he was so relied on, for that backfield tackle. So, but no, I mean, let's just talk about the rest of the rookies. What do you guys think about the rest of these guys? I mean, dig in to not just the draft picks, but tell us what you saw in the rookies. Why don't we start with, everybody's excited about Schoonmaker. Schoonmaker obviously coming off an injury from last year, from his last year at Michigan. Was he a participant? What does he look like?
So what I saw every day that coming into practice, except for the last day, there was no pads, and we were there for the beginning of padded practice. So I think Monday was the first day of practice that we saw this past Monday. And he was moving fine, moving good. Apparently they had a setback for him, so we didn't really get to see much of Schoonmaker. But apparently he was a full participant today, which is Monday the 7th. But, yeah, he was a full participant today, so I'm sure we'll see some more stuff from him.
Yeah, Tuesday the 7th, he was full participant today, but didn't see a lot of route running out of him, a lot of action out of him.
Monday.
Because Jake Ferguson, you could tell Jake Ferguson was like preparing to be a tight end in a West Coast offense. The dude's catching balls off of cuts, off of strides,
you don't, when you see it, for me to see Jake Ferguson, and even Hendershot was doing pretty well. Dak is just good with tight ends. It's automatic for some reason with Dak and tight ends.
Well, he doesn't. You think of Cowboy tight ends as of recent over Dak's career, and it's a lot of that Kellen Moore just like you said earlier, get to the sticks, get me a first down, fall down. You've got Ferguson out there doing athletic moves, cutting like he thinks he's CeeDee Lamb. He's out there catching the ball in stride, catching them on the sidelines and everything. I expect to kind of see the same thing out of Schoonmaker moving forward. But these tight ends, I feel like we're going to be seeing what a West Coast receiving tight end does.
Yeah, and I think you'll also see Schoon maybe in some probably in some preseason games showing out. I'm excited to see that. So that's...
Well, yeah, and I'll say, overall, the tight ends, it was solid. Yeah. It wasn't like jump off the
these guys
page,
are good. Yeah.
But it was solid. Jake Ferguson was looking really good.
Yeah.
But I will say, for the most part, most of the time we were there, Schoonmaker was on the cords, not in pads. But the last day we were there, they did have him put on some pads. They had him put his helmet on, and he was running some routes and catching some catching some passes. And I just remember thinking, man, for him, first off, he is a big dude. But now he's not just big. He's not just a big dude that runs and falls down. Like, he moves. You can see his speed. Yeah. And I hope that the injury stuff works out for this guy, because first off, regardless, like I said, our tight ends are solid. But I think he just you can see the upside potential that he has when he was running those routes. And I think if he stays healthy and he can pick up the system quick and get on the field this year, I think he's got a lot of potential to really elevate that room. Yeah, especially because we didn't even get to see his blocking at camp, and that's what he's known for.
Right. I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but talking about rookies, we talked about DeMarvion and Schoon, but I mean, going into camp, I think every Cowboys fan and was kind of thinking, well, we know Deuce Vaughn is good, but he's little, what is he? But he was taking a lot of first team reps. I mean, he was getting a lot of looks. I mean,
it just got a lot easier on him with the suspension of Ronald Jones.
Yeah. But like, you see the clips and you see, they're like, Ronald or Rico Dowdle was doing really good, or Malik Davis is doing really good. But the person that I saw the most of besides Pollard in the ones was him. I mean, you would see like a trade-off between Malik Davis and Rico Dowdle, but almost every time I saw a run play, I was like, there goes Deuce.
Yeah, not to take anything away from Deuce, and that's great that he was a big-time participant. Not to take anything away from him, but I really think these coaches, like, they have to give him a lot of time because they have to figure out where this small guy fits in.
But my thing was, and I kept telling Jacob this, I was like, if the dude is an average running back, like skill set wise and like explosiveness wise and all that kind of stuff and vision wise, at that size, you're not making the team. You know, your size is already holding you back. So if you're just a mediocre as far as skill sets go, you're not making the team. So this is telling me that he's got to be some sort of very special to be that size, and then being like, okay, it's Pollard, and then you and these other guys who are already kind of proven backs of some sort in the NFL.
Yeah, and you saw that. You got to see his explosiveness, his elusiveness, but also I will say the thing that was interesting was we got to see a lot of him running routes and catching passes, and he did against the ones, and he did pretty good. I mean, it was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, look, you see him make plays that veterans, when you don't have nerves and when you're not, worried about, impressing somebody, like he was making plays like you need to make plays and in a special way, like I saw him do like a spin move or something, or, like jukes people out, and it's just like, he looks like a natural, he looks good, and I think that's the person I'm, outside of this other person that I'm about to talk about. I'm most excited to see him play in the preseason because I just want to see him just juke somebody clean out of their cleats.
Yeah.
But the one person that I noticed, and then they started talking about it, was Jalen Brooks.
Yep.
That dude, he looked like, the dude was making the gallop acrobatic catches and, running crisp routes and showing speed and, everything that you would look for. And, it's not even to say that Tolbert and, wasn't showing out or other guys weren't showing out. He was just right there beating everybody out. Like nobody is playing bad by any means.
Yeah.
But he's showing out more than everybody else, So
yeah, I think it just, he just showed a lot of, he must be an intelligent dude because it seems like he picked up the system and everything really quickly, and he's moving fast. He's not looking like he wasn't looking confused or didn't know what was going on. He was moving quick, and he was thriving under pressure. When they gave him the reps versus the ones, this is a 7th-round rookie, right? In a pretty stacked wide receiver room. So there's a lot of pressure on this guy, obviously, right? But, man, every time they put him in those positions, it's like he thrived under pressure. So, yeah, it was exciting. I think it was this morning or yesterday, I think it was Bobby Belt or somebody like that on 105.3 The Fan that said that Jalen Brooks was one of the dudes that stood out the most to him. So that's pretty crazy.
He was making waves back here for sure. So yeah, look forward to seeing him for sure. You guys remember number 4?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, Dak Prescott. So, obviously, he's coming into this West Coast deal, Texas coast. He's going to spend his first offensive year away from Kellen Moore. What does he look like trying on the shoes of West Coast offense and Mike McCarthy's offense specifically?
Yeah, I think it was incredible to watch. He was looking really good. He was on the money, whether it was a
Is he in the
ball.
best shape of his life?
He had
definitely.
I don't think I've ever seen him come into a camp where him and in the past Ezekiel Elliott, they're always in the best shape of their life.
But no, he was looking really good. He was like I said, he was right on the money with the passes. It was quick. He was communicating with the receivers a lot. And he was pretty much automatic. And also, one thing that I thought that was interesting was we got to see actually a couple of design runs by Dak, and he didn't look like, in the past couple of years after the injury, you kind of look like he was maybe favoring that leg or struggling a little bit, but he was looking like he was running pretty good. He was scrambling a lot, which kind of brings up a concern about, one of my concerns was the O-line. I know Zach Martin's not there. I know there was some backups So I don't know, that's just one thing that worried me. But he was dealing with it well. He was getting out of the pocket and he was making plays.
Look at the gun barrel he's staring down at.
I mean, yeah. And so it's maybe the offensive line looks not great because we're dealing with a lot of backup guys, and we're going against one of the best fronts in the league, maybe the best front.
Like I was gonna say this. Me and Jacob last season we went to the open training thing at the Star, and I just
Cowboys Culture Podcast will be making an appearance to this year's
Yep,
open
we definitely
practices
will.
at the Star.
for sure.
Continue.
But and I noticed the same thing, and I as a quarterback, when you get sacked or when you feel like somebody's going to sack you, that causes some commotion, and a little bit of hesitation. So with Dak, it's like, I saw the same thing at training camp. It was like Micah Parsons, didn't matter who he was going against, Tyron Smith, Terrence Steele, Tyler, whatever it was.
He's moving you.
He is touching Dak's shoulder almost every play. Just to, gotcha.
Tap sack.
Or you need Tyron to freaking grab him back and hold him, because he's going to get back there. And as far as Dak goes, while I'm there, I'm seeing a bunch of every time Dak threw an interception, I'm thinking, oh gosh, I'm just going to see this all over social media, and people are I don't even want to look at the comments, but when you play I can't wait to see what quarterbacks that don't play a defense as good as ours every week, every day in practice goes against our defense, because like I said, it takes a special play and a special player to beat our defense even in practice. I mean, our defense is insane. I mean, it's crazy to watch.
Yeah. We have a special player.
We do.
Yeah, Micah Parsons.
But I'll say Dak, when Dak like I said about Brandon Cooks, when Brandon Cooks was going for that deep ball, it was like Dak didn't even skip a beat. I mean, it was perfect, on the money every time. If anybody was going for a deep ball, I remember I saw Gallup like twice go for a deep ball. It was perfect. If CeeDee Lamb was going, Dak was hitting him perfectly. So I would say Dak, you can look at the interceptions and be like, oh, Dak, same old Dak. But same old Dak. I mean, he's going to throw a bomb on Christmas Eve, to T.Y. Hilton. He's going to throw to CD in a crossing route.
Shout out Eagles.
Yeah, shout out the Eagles.
But he looked very
bad day.
Yeah, it was same old Dak, but he definitely looked a lot more.
He definitely looks more fit, for sure.
Yeah, he looks fit. He looks in control. He looks confident. And so overall, the overall look of or overall what we saw of Dak was positive, I would say. Definitely, obviously we've been used to what he looks like with Kellen Moore. I definitely think that there was some improvement.
Yeah.
At least, I mean, it's camp. It's early.
Yeah.
They're running vanilla plays and stuff like that. But
and they're telling the guy in the red jersey, hey, let's run this thing about 80% balls.
Well, especially compared to, because like Ethan talked about going to the open practice and watching them last year, they couldn't complete a pass. I mean, Micah was back there hitting him, and it was, I mean, the ball was on the ground, or it was just nobody could get open. And Dak couldn't complete anything. But this year, they actually were. So it was encouraging.
Turpin, too. I mean, we kind of touched on him just for a second. But Turpin he was showing some speed. He was getting open. He was catching, if the ball was thrown to him, he was going to catch it. Yeah. I mean, the only time you don't see, a player show out is just because our defenders just locking down. You can't do anything. Nobody would be able to do anything. But I was I told you this, and I'll say this for the pod, it's not like Dak's just going to be like, oh, all the players are locked down. Let me just hold on. Never mind, cut, or throw the ball on the ground. Up, plays over. Stephon Gilmore locked down, CD, or everybody was covered. No, he's going to try and make that throw. Just for mental reps.
Yeah,
so
practice.
Yeah, when you see a pick, it's practice.
Every quarterback believes
they can make that throw.
Can make that
yeah.
throw. Yeah. There's throws out there that Dak can't make. At least not consistently. But I'm glad he's on our team.
Yeah, for sure.
So and then the good news is, to your earlier point, the good news is Micah Parsons also on our team, and won't be sacking him very often during the year.
Yeah.
So, but Yeah. So just while we're talking about Dak, before we kind of get into the season, which the preseason starts this Saturday. Today's Monday. Saturday the preseason starts. We get into games. We get into being able to talk about seeing guys actually play against other guys. So one of these preseason things that always happens is all these different polls are released. The most prominent poll is the poll that's taken by the executives and the coaches in the NFL, and they rank the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. This year, Dak comes in at number 9. He was not ranked last year in this particular poll.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And you ask non-Cowboys Nation, why is that? And why is he back there now? And it's Brady retired, and Lamar had a bad year, so he's back in the top 10 by default. Also coming off of the 15 interception season and all of that.
Yeah, they look at that interception and they say, "Oh, he had a bad season." No, he actually had a solid season.
Yeah, he had a solid season. He missed a lot of time. I think also goes against him. Not necessarily his fault, but it does have to play.
Yeah,
into
and
it.
I saw something really quick. I saw something that was somebody said, if Dak, clearly they didn't watch any of the games or look at his interception to touchdown ratio, but like if Dak was coming out and throwing these interceptions, 2 interceptions a game, but he had 3 touchdowns and they win, then I'm like, okay, watch the game. That's exactly what happened. When we had 12 wins. Cooper Rush only had 4 wins. The rest of the 8 wins that we got, Dak, would he throw a pick? Yeah, but he would also destroy you. 5 touchdowns against the freaking Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs. That's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, that's. I mean, us Cowboy fans, we sit back and defend Dak all the time because, let's just face it, the national media wants Dak Prescott to be bad, and narratives are built off of those 15 throws. Forget the TY dime, forget all of that. Forget all the times he found a window for CD. 15 of them were interceptions, and that's what matters. But just moving on to the poll, it always rises a question. And it's my opinion that this term gets thrown around not correctly quite a bit, but it's this word elite. We talk about elite quarterbacks. Being in the top 10 this season, this preseason, what do you guys think? Is Dak Prescott an elite NFL quarterback? And before you guys kind of start, I want to say first and foremost, my definition of elite is probably a little different than probably what you guys are going to say. I know where you guys stand with Dak Prescott. Phenomenal quarterback. Elite to me is reserved for great ones. You don't necessarily have to be playing right now to be one of the elites. I think elite for me is reserved for the Joe Montanas, for the Tom Bradys, for the Brett Favres, just the elite of the elite. Now, if you want to discuss, is Dak one of the top 10 quarterbacks playing in the NFL right now? And if that's your definition of elite, if you're a top 10 quarterback and you're the franchise guy, well, yeah, of course, Dak's elite.
I would say that what you're saying about like the Joe Montanas and like the people who are retired and they're the greats in
old man Borfest.
Yeah,
stuff, right?
My thing is like those are the greats. You can't look at a player, in my opinion, right now and say, "Oh, that's one of the greats." Patrick Mahomes will be one of the greats. Like you can be one of those greats one day, but those are the greats. If you're talking about, in my opinion, I think an elite quarterback is that you can say there isn't 5 people in the world able to play my position better than me in the world right now as we speak. If you want to bring back Joe Montana, and play, or Brett Favre, to come play right now. I mean,
He might. He actually might do it.
But what I'm saying is like right now there isn't a person in the world 5 players better than me right now. I feel like that's elite. And
Okay, so there's not 5 in your opinion. There's not 5 people better at playing quarterback than Dak Prescott.
Well, I mean,
no, sir, I do not.
I think,
Bum.
I think, yeah.
I have a pretty hot take on that. But
Well, yeah. First
no, I don't.
off, when it comes to this 9 ranking, I think it's unbelievable. The fact that we have guys like Jalen Hurts after 1 season. I mean, did he have a good season? Yes. Did he have one of the most stacked offenses I think we've ever seen? Yes. You got to factor that in.
Like Micah said, was it him or was it the team?
Yeah, exactly.
I've been saying that since this time last season.
Yeah.
So.
But, I mean, you got guys like him. I think they had Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Herbert, Lamar, who hasn't –
that's my thing on
Lamar
Lamar.
played a football game.
Yeah.
Dak – oh, go ahead. What do you say?
Well, I'm just going to say that, like, this they've been saying get Lamar weapons for, years. But then he was MVP. That what was that, 6 years ago? Dak was in the running for MVP around that time. Like, let's be honest. I mean, Lamar Jackson being a good NFL player is being a healthy NFL player. That's like 50% of the battle.
Okay.
So for Lamar, last year, Tyler Huntley, he made the freaking Pro Bowl. Again, is it the scheme? Is it the team, or is it him? Is Lamar just incredible? Like, oh my gosh, you take him or Jalen and put him on the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
They are Justin Fields of last season. That player that he can run, but maybe the arm talent isn't there. That's why he runs.
Yeah.
Because if I'm a quarterback and I'm thinking, okay,
the decision-making skills aren't there. And, you say what you want off of Dak's interceptions last year, but, the arm talent not there, and also the hesitation to throw the football, I believe, exists with those guys.
I don't ever want to have to say, okay, well, man, they're doing a really good job of locking down our quarterback sneak and run play. And then I'm like, we're screwed. I mean, this dude can't throw the ball, and they're locking down our run game, so we're screwed.
Yeah.
With at least, like, to have they always throw that around, dual quarterback for Jalen and Lamar and, other quarterbacks like that. Just because you can run doesn't make you a dual threat quarterback. You have to be able to throw too.
So they tell me that Josh Allen's a dual threat.
Yeah, that's my perfect example of a dual threat quarterback.
Yeah.
That dude will freaking destroy you if he takes off running. Like, he's huge. But if you need him to throw a 90-yard pass to Gabe Davis or Diggs on Jalen Ramsey, the dude can do it. He's got a cannon.
Yeah, and just talking about Josh Allen, Ethan wants to fit Dak into the top 5 quarterbacks playing right now. So number 1's taken. All right, moving on.
Right.
You've got these other 2 guys. You've got the Burrow, you've got Allen. I mean, it's fair to say whatever order you want to put those 2 in, fine. There's your top 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so who's 4 and 5, and tell me.
So I mean, again, I have a very, very hot take on that, but I think Dak.
By the way, I'm still not convinced that that Jalen Hurts isn't somewhere with Mahomes. Maybe they're in a class of their own.
Definitely not.
So shout out Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is that when you really, like, if you're not trying to be like that, let's just put Dak at that. He's like that Kirk Cousins type player. They're pretty much the same. No, they're not. No, they're not.
Look at the last
You've
time
you've never seen it. You've never seen them play and them look equal.
That's a pretty lazy.
What's the last time Dak played Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, I mean,
that's if you need something to take a nap to one afternoon, watch the 2022 Cowboys Vikings.
And the funny thing about that is, you don't have a battle line. You have one of the better left tackles, and you have the offensive player of the year on your team, and you get beat 40-3 on a random day at your home.
MVP,
when you got J-Ron doing the skull clap above his head.
MVP conversations going into that week about Cousins. If you guys remember, going into the
They were like 10-1 or something.
coming into that game, Cousins boasted the biggest NFL comeback of all time coming into that game against the Colts the week before. So, we're about to see the Vikings and Kirk Cousins piece up this stitched together Dallas Cowboys team.
Here's the thing. This is why I'm so high on Dak in this, is because when you look at our team last season, what people don't, they just say, oh, interceptions. Yeah, he's right there with Kirk. Tyron Smith tears his hamstring off the bone. You're starting left tackle. Your rookie left tackle / left guard, Tyler Smith, is now playing left tackle. Then Terrence Steele goes down halfway through the season, and then Biotish gets hurt. So your rookie left guardish tackle is playing left tackle, and you got Connor McGovern there. There's no continuity in the O line, even though Tyler Smith played well. That still plays a factor in the pressures and everything like that. And then Terrence Steele goes out. Now you got Tyron playing right tackle. Then you got a 40-year-old playing left tackle / guard, and Tyler rotating in there. And then what was the talk about at the beginning of the season? People were saying the Cowboys don't have any offensive talent or wide receiver talent outside of CeeDee Lamb and maybe Dalton Schultz. Well, then what happens? So we go get James Washington, and the dude breaks his foot in training camp. So now you have legit, and like we talked about that, Gallup was still coming back from the injury. So add up all of that, and Dak, we still were 12-5, given our defense, with a defense that couldn't stop the run.
Yeah.
So now there's no breaks, and teams are able to run on you, and Dak is still hanging 40 on shout out the Eagles.
So yeah,
Dak is still taking down people.
What I was gonna say, going back to Steven's question about, is Dak elite? What makes somebody elite, right? And then you're talking about the quarterback rankings. For me, it's Mahomes. You got.
Sorry, I get up on a tangent.
You're good. It's Mahomes. You got Burrow. You got Allen. I'm still pretty high on Aaron Rodgers, just because I know he hasn't been playing the greatest, but I mean he always beats us, and he has. He's got the upside. I just think he's incredible.
Fine, but Aaron Rodgers.
But then I'm not going to even entertain Hurts, Lamar. I mean that's in my opinion that's disrespectful.
I won't even entertain Trevor Lawrence. I don't know why people just throw Trevor Lawrence
Herbert.
in there.
You could make people.
Herbert too.
Everything people say about Dak, that is Herbert. But anyways, I have Dak at number 5. But here's what I'll say about elite quarterback.
So you've got 15 in Kansas City. Pick your poison with the 2.
Yeah, 15 is on his own. He's unbelievable, right?
Rodgers and then Dak.
Yes, but I would rank Dak below those dudes. But I'll say this: if you're ever bored on a given day, go and look at the stats and overall how and you can do like a 3-4 year, however long you want to do study. Obviously, Dak was injured this past year, but Dak is playing at the same level as guys like, when you look at completion percentage, how well he's doing versus what, adjusted to the defenses and all those types of things, accuracy, all this stuff, touchdowns, he's playing at the same level as guys like as guys like Burrow, who everybody who worships, and I mean he's a great quarterback. Josh Allen, right? He is playing at that level. I have those dudes there because I think, for example, guys like Josh Allen have some elite traits. He's a true dual threat quarterback. Dak is, since the injury, he's been struggling there, but he is playing at that level. And to me, what makes somebody elite as a quarterback is not necessarily like you're a generational Hall of Famer, but it's you're playing at the top. You're one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and you are a guy that, regardless of what's going around you, can elevate your team and make you a winning team, get you in the playoffs. Like Ethan was talking about, O-line, I think we were bottom 5 in the league in pass protection for our O-line. Everything was mixed up on the O-line. Everybody was out of position or injured, right, except for Zach Martin. When you look at our receivers, I'm pretty sure when you looked at, like, when it comes to things like separation, our number 2 and number 3 receivers were like ranked bottom 15 in the league at separation, right? So you got a guy like what makes somebody elite, in my opinion, is when you can have a quarterback like Dak who comes in, and when he's not there in the same scheme with the same offense, Cooper Rush, who did solid for us, but we were the 28th scoring offense without Dak. Dak comes in, we're like the number 1. I think we ended number 4. gets us into the second round of the playoffs with very bad pass protection and just not a lack of ability to see receivers that just couldn't get open. That is what makes you elite, as opposed to when you have a quarterback like, I know we hate a lot on Jalen Hurts, but a guy like Jalen Hurts that the team's asking to trade the dude, or they don't even want him the year before. Then you stack the team, and now all of a sudden he's an MVP, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just Jalen Hurts, just to put that to bed. Great season last year, Eagles and Hurts, not the other way around. I really don't believe this is going to be a conversation next year as far as, is Jalen Hurts elite? I really think we've seen the best we're going to see out of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to play at this level for a long time. It's the team around him, i.e. Micah Parsons, shout out, is right. Is it Jalen Hurts or is it the team? We all, I've watched football long enough to know it's a lot of the team. And that's going to start falling apart around him. And we're going to kind of see this Jalen Hurts thing come to an end.
Because what I've seen when it comes to the rankings is that they just like, Herbert, Lawrence, Lamar is above him.
Pick famous quarterbacks that haven't thrown 15 interceptions.
But why though? Like, you don't want to make people so mad. Like, you don't want to be outrageous and say Dak's not in my top 10 because I guess people don't want to be that controversial. But why? What? Because the biggest thing they'd say about Dak is, I guess, this past season interceptions. But once they get past that, they say, he just can't get it done. Which one of those quarterbacks has gotten it done?
Yeah,
has Lamar been to the bowl? Has Herbert's had enough time? Lawrence have had enough time. They've had enough time to get to be that elite quarterback that they're supposed to be. So if the standard is just saying, they're above Dak because they've got potential, let me see it then. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know the Jaguars beat us, but I mean, we have that game in the bag if Noah Brown doesn't toss it clean to the defense.
Yeah, and to be fair to these polls and everything, all of those things are taken into consideration from the year previous. The interceptions, did you lose to this guy type thing, So if you're coming off of last season and you're saying Dak was the 9th best quarterback of those top 10 based off of last season, still not buying it, obviously. But we lose to the Packers. But I think Dak was, for the small sample size we got of Dak, I think he was better than Rodgers.
Yeah,
so,
I think, but like, for example, with the Herbert thing, for some reason I've seen him being put over like a lot of people recently. And is Herbert great? Does he have all the talent in the world? Fine, sure, but you're up by Trevor Lawrence threw 3 interceptions in like the first half of that playoff game, and you lose. Yeah. How can you say that guy's a killer? If that guy will put you away. You're up that much and you lose?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Man. Herbert did some of the everybody accuses Dak of things that Herbert has done, but for some reason, I guess because he's a insanely talented dude, everybody's super high on him and not Dak. But one thing I wanted to say, because like what we've been talking about, nobody can deny Dak's playing at a high level, right? But people knock him on his interceptions, which we already talked about. Like, we had no separation or protection last year, right? But another thing, people always talk about Dak not being able to get it done, right? And when it comes to the postseason. But I don't know, like, you guys might have pushback on this, but I have a theory that Dak has just had some pretty bad luck. Because like when you look at his overall playoff win and loss, because obviously he's 2-4, right?
You're saying Dak's just had bad luck in the playoffs.
I just think he's had bad luck in overall how he looks, because when you look at him in his playoffs in his playoff situation, he overall it hasn't been like, Dak chokes in the playoffs. When you go back, in his first time in the playoffs, going against the Packers, he played incredibly well in that game.
Yeah, should have won.
He just played Aaron Rodgers, who had 10 seconds left.
Yeah,
right. But he put his team in position to win. But I was just going to say, he beat in his prime Russell Wilson, right? And But and when overall you look, and when I say he got unlucky, this is what I mean. I just think in the past couple of years he got unlucky in a sense that we had to face, and this is my theory, there's something with San Francisco, right?
Yeah, there
because when you look at Dak's track record in the playoffs and you look at his rating, okay, you see the lowest, he's got 103, 92, the lowest, 143. The lowest one outside of San Francisco was 83, right? San Francisco, we got 63 and 69, right? So personally, I feel like maybe it's just that there was something, whether it was, so it's like people say Dak chokes in the playoffs. Not necessarily. He lit up Tampa Bay the week before, right? To me, it seems like he shows out in the playoffs, but it's just something about San Francisco, whether it was DeMeco Ryans, Kellen, I don't know. But it's like every other playoff game he played well. It was just that team 2 years in a row, he just so happened to have the luck that he faced them.
Yeah,
I think that's where he got unlucky.
So here's your pushback, all right? So there's something to that. I'm not fully disagreeing with that, but I don't think we haven't progressed past the second round because Dak's an unlucky dude. I understand your point. I understand what you're saying. This kind of goes back to my original definition of elite. You say Aaron Rodgers, the thing is you can play as good as you want, Dak. Unfortunately, 10 seconds left with Aaron Rodgers, he's going to make an Aaron Rodgers throw. To me, in my world, in my mind, that's what elite quarterbacks do. It's kind of almost move regular season stats out of the way and almost even move playoff stats out of the way. There's 10 seconds left and him is here. There's nothing that can get in the way of that. I have decided that we will win now, and that's kind of my definition of elite. Now, elite, you get that elite crown in January and February. You don't get it because you got back-to-back 12-win seasons. However, I do think there's a lot to what you're saying, Jacob. I think Dak Prescott himself. It's rare to go back and look at his playoff track record and say Dak Prescott's the reason we lost. Mm-hmm. It's rare. I can think of maybe one, and that's up for debate. But and it's not because he goes and plays a bad game all game. It's just when it's time for Aaron Rodgers to take over and make that Aaron Rodgers throw, when it's time for Tom Brady to take over and make that Tom Brady throw and find Gronk and stride and end this thing. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen that out of Dak yet. The blowout against Tampa Bay, you got a losing record Tampa Bay team coming in out of a bad conference and, kind of stumbles into the playoffs by default. Hey, somebody's got to go represent the NFC South. Sorry, guys, you're the unlucky ones. That was a bad team with a 45-year-old quarterback. Be him the greatest of all time or not. That was a shell of its 2020 season team. Mm-hmm. There's probably not a ton of teams that weren't going to stomp them that night.
Yeah, well, just to say, but I get it. After we beat them, the narrative is that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just aren't the same. Even though they were competitive like all season, and they had one of the better defenses, during the regular season and all that. That's fine. But I was just going to say that, if we're just going off of rankings,
were you worried about them? Going into that game, were you worried about him? Okay, two-part question. Were you worried about him? I guess the answer is yes. And the reason you were worried.
Dak? Are you saying Dak?
No. I'm saying
Brady.
Were you worried about Tampa Bay going into that game?
Oh, I'll tell Jacob can attest this. When we were watching that game, we were up like 3 touchdowns. And I was like, it is not over.
Yeah,
we played them earlier in the season and put up 3 points. So I was very worried, and to see, and that's my overall point is people say, oh yeah, Dak chokes in the playoffs in big games, he can't get it done. What I'm trying to say is I just don't think that's true. I think that most times we play big games, if you remember, like when we talked about Minnesota, that was a kind of a big game for us. We really needed to win because we just lost against Green Bay, and if we lost 2 in a row,
pulled it out.
Yeah, Dak showed out. Everybody's like, can Dak win a playoff game? He goes in against a team that shut him down in week 1 in Tampa Bay, and he lights him up. And I'm just saying, like, when you look at his playoff record, I don't think that shows I choke in the playoffs. I think when you look at his playoff record, you say every single game outside of San Francisco, you showed out. It just so happens, that's why I say I think he's gotten a little bit unlucky. At the past few seasons, it seems like San Francisco has been kind of like our kryptonite for our offense, not our defense. Dan Quinn's shutting them down.
Yeah, 19. They scored 19 last year.
Yeah, it just so happens that we've had that matchup twice. But I'm interested to see what it looks like this year without Ryans.
Yeah,
and
we'll get to play them early too, so that'll be good. But it's just like, for example, I was just gonna try and say that where Dak ranks for me is that 4, 5, lowest for me 6, because I don't understand the automatic. Oh yeah, Herbert, Lawrence, Lamar, Jalen. Like
you haven't said a name that I'll trade for today.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. And if we play like just team on team, if we play any of those Ravens, Jags, Bolts, Eagles, I definitely wholeheartedly feel like we're going to win, because we do play at least 2 of them this season, and we played Trevor Lawrence last season, but we all know what happened there. But in my opinion, like, I don't understand the. Oh yeah, they're so talented. Let's just put them above Dak because of that. Like, no, Dak's very talented, and he's proved that so far. And in my opinion, they haven't proved anything that Dak hasn't proved. Except for maybe Lamar winning the MVP just because he can run.
Hey, I'll tell you, Dak, from 2021 to 2022, obviously 2021 was a great year for Dak statistically. Not a super awesome year last year, as far as obviously the interceptions, had a lot of time off with injuries. Completion rating in 2021, 68.8. Completion rating in 2022, 66.2.
Hey, and I'll say this. People talk about Dak's accuracy. Compare that to dudes like Burrow. I guarantee you it's on the money. But the thing is, because it's because he's from the Cowboys, or maybe it's, I don't know. Dak maybe he's not a first-round pick. It's like he can do the same thing a guy like that does, or a guy like Josh Allen, and they just get so much more credit. I don't know.
And so this kind of comes back to the Rodgers point. And by the way, your point earlier, I asked you if you were worried about Tampa Bay going into that game, and you were. And we were up 3 touchdowns, and you're still worried. And why was that? It's because number 12's on the other side.
Yeah. But then that same. Let me finish my thought. So, you look at that, and that's my definition of elite. You can literally be. This guy can be down 3 touchdowns. Yeah. And
you're still a little worried. So it has been the case in the past. And it's extremely rare, if the Cowboys get down 3 touchdowns, not a ton of worry for the other team.
I don't think, like, for example, Dak is good enough that we don't get put in that position.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But at the same time, people, like, that's why I'm so high on Dak, is because they're putting those kind of, that person, people like Herbert and Lawrence and them. Herbert was up 3 touchdowns and got beat,
couldn't finish.
And Dak played Trevor Lawrence hand in hand, and we lost, but that wasn't necessarily on Dak. Like, we should have won that game, and so you're going toe to toe with somebody like that, and you're showing out more than he is, and then Herbert is out here. The only thing is they look at his potential and how, like, they got a great defense. So it's not like his defense didn't show out. Just the dude could not get it done. When you're up 3 touchdowns, you don't sit there and just put the knife in their back. Like when we played the Vikings, who were 10-1, when we played the Colts, teams like when we played Brady, you don't slow down. They could come back.
Exactly.
Put the knife in their back and send them to sleep. Go to bed.
Yeah, exactly. But I think we are still waiting on that. The thing that makes other people say elite outside of podcasts like this one, the thing that I think we're still waiting on from Dak is that January performance against San Francisco. He's had 2 opportunities. He's had 2 opportunities to say, I'm taking this game over. Aaron Rodgers 2016, I'm taking this thing over. There's not a dang thing anybody can do about it. I'm coming in here, this thing's close. Unfortunately for the other guys, there's 30 seconds left and I have the ball.
Yeah.
And ender.
I'll say for
we're
sure.
still waiting on that moment.
Yeah, I'll say for sure Dak hasn't proven that yet. I don't think he's incapable. He hasn't done it yet, but I'll say there's one dude in the league that has, and that's Mahomes, right? Aaron Rodgers, when he, in his prime, and maybe if he really gets excited on any given day, could probably do it.
It's a rarity these days.
But outside of that, I think the closest to it is probably Burrow. But I don't think he's fully in that category yet because he still hasn't won a Super Bowl, right? And so, I'm just trying to say, I get it. Yeah, is Dak, has he proven that he's on the, Hall of Fame, like he's that guy status yet? No, but my argument is, number one, I still think he has a chance to prove that he could. I think he has the potential, possibly.
Yeah, he still plays.
But, yeah, but also, almost, except with the exception of maybe 1 to 2 guys max, nobody else is in the league. And so I feel like Cowboys fans need to be more grateful that do they have old, like prime Tom Brady on their team? No, but they have a quarterback that's playing at the top of the league right now, and we are
the hate is ridiculous.
2 seasons in a row we're a playoff team, and we're ascending, and a guy who's a great leader. I agree with you. He hasn't proven all of that yet, but he has proven he's a great quarterback that we can win with, I believe. And so I just think people should be more grateful with what we have and give more respect.
I couldn't agree more with that. And I just want to be clear. I know I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here, right? But
firing this up.
Yeah, but I'll say this. When I talk about, hey, tough break, Aaron Rodgers has the ball last in a playoff game, I don't necessarily mean that kind of performance happens in the Super Bowl or that person wins the Super Bowl, much like you brought up Joe Burrow. I've seen Joe Burrow call a game late in the year. I've seen that happen. I've also seen him not do it.
I've seen Joe Burrow get his teeth kicked in by Cooper Rush.
Yeah, for sure.
In person.
It's true.
We don't have to get into this, but I've seen Joe Burrow get his teeth kicked in by Central Florida. But but anyway, go Tigers. So, I don't necessarily mean these guys are sitting there with Tom Brady rings on or anything. I'm just saying that we haven't seen that moment from Dak. I'm not saying it's a Super Bowl. I'm not even saying it's an NFC Championship game. I'm saying it's late in the year, and we're having a San Francisco 2022 type game, and Dak just say, nah.
Yeah, I agree. I think this season is a big chance for Dak to prove something, honestly.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I don't think just to wrap up, I don't think he should be at that given 10, 9, 10 fringe, 9. That's crap. You can't. That's crap.
That is a
you
bunch
can't
of
just
junk.
say that.
Dak is, by the way, with the trade of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets. Dak is now the longest tenured quarterback in the NFL. He's played for the Cowboys longer than any other quarterback has played for their team. So he's as far as the team that drafted him, he's the longest tenured quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Which just kind of goes back to there's not a lot of people that the Dallas Cowboys look at and say, I'll trade for him today.
So we got who exactly. That's why even fans, we were at just to talk about a camp at one more time, but at camp, what other team do you have fans screaming at your quarterback saying, what was that? What are you doing? We literally heard fans saying, what are you doing? And then Dak throws a dime and they don't say a word. Yeah. What other fans chirp at the quarterback, know?
No, the Eagles fans hate every living soul. So, I know that they got mad at Jalen for 2 years. And he's nobody, he's nothing for 2 years. Jalen Hurts is about to work his way out of the league. And then it's
the casual fans that do that. It's not the real fans that do that.
So, Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, and I can count them on these 3 fingers who I'd take instead of him. That's saying something. So,
if we don't have anything else, we could wrap up here.
Yeah, the Dak conversation can go on for millenniums.
Yeah,
So
especially with me and Jacob.
Absolutely, yeah.
But hey, yeah, I mean, unless you guys have anything else, I'll wrap up.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's wrap it up. Let's do say this though. Let's not let the Dak conversation end. Let's let it keep going. How about this? How about you guys that are listening or watching YouTube, Spotify? We're on all those. Check us out. Let's keep this thing going, man. If you think Dak's elite, if you don't think Dak's elite, comment. Find us on Instagram. Find us on Twitter. Find us on
DM us.
DM us. Yeah. Hey,
I'll text you back if you DM and you have some hot takes or you want to say something. I'll debate you on in DMs.
Yep.
Hey, and if that debate is something worth bringing up on the podcast, we'll bring it right here. We'll call you out.
We'll call you.
So yeah, y'all get at us, man. Get at us through our social medias. Comment on this video on YouTube.
If this, and you were talking about if this video does good,
hey man, if this video does good, we can a lot of things can happen.
Yeah, we can talk about some different things that we can do for y'all and everything. But we, like Steven said, we are going to be at the 2 preseason games that are here. There's 2 of them here, right?
Yeah.
We'll be at the Jacksonville one this weekend, and then we'll be at the last one, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll give you guys what we think about that in later episodes, and then we'll get ready for content to talk about when the season starts. It's getting close.
Yep, it is descending upon us. So but I will say this, keep that Dak conversation going. We want to hear from you. We want to see your comments about that. DM us. This man runs our Instagram. He can't wait to argue about Dak Prescott. He does it with me every day. So let's keep that thing going, man. Make some comments in there. Do want to say shout out Eagles one more time. And we'll see you guys next time.
Yep. Make sure you like and subscribe and be ready for episode 3. We're going to break down the Jags game.
Yep,
absolutely.
Sure.
Be looking for some giveaways on Instagram too. More to come on that. Later, guys.
Peace.